Hi there! This is an unusual video for me. I haven't been here in a while, but we're gonna roll with it. Welcome to the Junkyard. Here, we figure out how to scrap together your favorite fictional mecha in Steel Hearts, a mecha tabletop role-playing game. What is a Steel Heart? What is a tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG? And that's a complicated question beyond the scope of this. If you're here, you probably already know what one of these is, but basically TTRPGs are like improv theater games with dice and stuff tossed in. Think Critical Role, Dungeons and Dragons, Baldur's Gate, Dimension 20, that kind of thing. That's an oversimplification, but whatever. And mobile engagement chassis, Steel Hearts, is just one of these games, all about giant robots and kaiju and the gravity that weighs down your soul or whatever. Go watch this video that I've linked here if you want to know more about Steel Hearts in particular. We're assuming that you at least kind of know what's going on. Anyway, we're gonna use a bunch of parts and mom's pocket change to put together one of my favorite mechs, the VF-19 Excalibur from Macross 7. Hi, I come from the future where I'm currently editing this video, and I realized that throughout the whole video I call this thing the VF-19 Excalibur, which is accurate, but in the anime it's only ever referred to as a Valkyrie, an informal catch-all term for variable fighters. And everywhere that this thing appears, particularly in Super Robot Wars games, it's normally called the Fire Valkyrie. That's not like its production name or whatever, but it is the actual name for Basara's Valkyrie. I am not going to call it the Fire Valkyrie here, partly because that's just the name of Basara's specific Valkyrie, but also partly because I am lazy and do not want to re-record this entire video. So yeah, the Excalibur, that's the mech, let's go. A light and fast agile machine that, as a variable fighter or Valkyrie, can switch between humanoid, jet, and hybrid forms. It's equipped with speakers to blast the power, rock and roll across the battlefield. This machine is meant to change hearts, not spill blood. Alrighty, the rules are simple. 1. We're starting with all 6 parts. Rules as written, you only start the game with 3 parts, but I'm trying to make a complete mech, as if straight from the manufacturer or funded by people who have money, unlike beginner players. I'll still mention the 3 parts that are core to its identity, and the other 3 can be considered optional if you need to unlock them later. 2. All parts from the mechanic shop are available. Again, fresh from the manufacturer, so whatever is available is game. The only exception are fabled parts, unless they're vital to the mech's identity. I'll usually avoid using crossover mech parts, but sometimes they're useful, like with today's build. 3. 150,000 credit limit for upgrades. Gotta have limits somewhere, and since that's the way you're meant to start the game, it seems like it's stock, I guess. Now, let's take a whack at this. The mechs we're cannibalizing for our VF are the Falconer Zeta, Bard, Dragoon 13, and the crossover Hymnal 6+1, or the Pavis. We've got 6 parts: the helmet, core, maneuver, option, left, and right arms. Normally, we'd start with the option, as they usually define your mech, but we're building a variable fighter. It transforms, that's the whole point! So we're starting with the flight core from the Falconer Zeta. This gives us +1 mobility, +1 soak, the ability to fly, and the ability to transform into a flyer form. We'll come back to that later. Next, we're taking the gain oscilloscope from the Hymnal. Sound Force is all about converting music into power, which is exactly what Hymnals are built to do with gain, so they're a perfect fit. Each action you take generates synergy, and you can spend an action to passionately sing, generating 6 synergy for either yourself or for an ally who can hear your song. More power to the dreamer! Our third part is a little tricky, because you've got a lot of different angles you can take depending on your approach. But that's okay. You're kinda meant to swap out parts often in this game. You know, Armored Core style. I'm picking the Hymnal's heretical technology to be your sound boosters. Sound Force isn't very destructive, but it can completely cancel damage and snap people out of weird effects. Your max shields increase by 6 from your VF's pinpoint barrier system doing the work. Your speed by 2, and you can throw up arcane barriers to protect people via sound beams. I guess. A problem you'll soon see is that we're super fragile, so you don't ever want to get to the point where you're relying on your armor. Other good options here are the Bard's Harmonizer, sacrificing defense for way better support as you inspire everyone with extra attacks. Or the Falconer's Machine-Fed Bazooka. Basara's VF doesn't really have a bunch of weapons, but it does pack a couple emergency missiles, and everything about this part is just an Itano circus waiting to happen. Those are the main parts to get the feel right, so let's move on to the optional parts. For the maneuver, we're picking Dragon Wings from the Dragoon. Think of this as a backup flight unit. Even if you can't transform into a jet for some reason, you've always got Jerwalk. It also gives us +5 speed, and the concussive lance for the missile stored in our Valkyrie's legs. If you're getting to the point of relying on these guys, you've already lost your soul as a rocker. The Bard's Pyrotechnic Drip is also a great pick. Slightly less speed, more armor, and Blazing Climax for a more chaotic missile spray. The arms are a no-brainer, and it both come from the Bard. The Excalibur has speakers built into its shoulders, so that's your concussive amp, generating 1 synergy per allied phase, and giving you the sound rupture stratagems to keep everyone stuck listening to your mixtape. You've got a gun that shoots crappy Bluetooth speakers at people, which are your wrist speakers, attacking at range 5, producing free synergy, and teaching to buy an oral melody to daze people as you blast 2 trucks on loop into their ears. So far, we've got a really reactive support mech with a bunch of interventions to either prevent damage or let your allies cause more of it depending on your loadout. You're also fast, but you could be faster. So let's get to our upgrades. Mobility and attunement are our stats of choice here, so we're going to have mobility near max, upgrading that 5 times. We'll also bump up our attunement to activate Hyper Boost, letting us boost even further. 1 finesse upgrade for a light frame, letting you shift basically wherever you want, and a single point to computing to activate energy frame, making it cheaper to recharge your stratagems. If you're using the Harmonizer instead of heretical technology, you might want to swap a point of attunement to instead reinforce your armor, since you'll be much squishier and need all the armor you can get. Now you've slapped it together, what can the Excalibur even do? Alright, we got missiles! The concussive lance does AoE mass damage and it applies stuck, and an intervention do the same thing as a single target as a free action. This is more suppression fire than anything and it isn't very strong, but it is hitting lots of people. Our sound boosters give us arcane barriers and the radiant light intervention. Then you add a silly amount of shields to all your allies while removing the status effect. The power of Holy Lonely Light can reach even the darkest of heights. Our left arm has a ridiculous line 8 mass attack that applies stuck. You can crank up the gain and activate as an intervention all around you via blowout, but you better be prepared for some distortion as your mech takes 2 direct damage. Our right arm's a bit simpler with binaural melody and cacophonous beat, dealing honed and mass damage to 1 target respectively, and granting 4 synergy to an ally. If you've noticed, none of these attacks have ways to amp up their damage by default, and that's by design. This mech isn't meant to kill people, but it does distract and slow down all your enemies, while amping up your way more murderous party members, for better or worse. It's packing a dozen AoE attacks to fill the battlefield with angry sound, or a whole fireworks display of rockets to soften everyone up though. But her real party trick is the flyer form. Once per allied phase, you can enter your flyer form, no action needed. In this form, your speed increases by 8, your soak by 2, and you get +4 shields for every shift action you take. You become way more durable and faster, but you can no longer use basic attacks. But that's fine, because you're not normally relying on them. Your actions are usually spent building up gain, but in flyer form you're shifting around, building up your shields, you spend stratagems, raining down fire via your sound cloud, and the occasional airstrike. Shifting back into your normal form is a free action, so starting off with dumb air tricks is always the correct answer. So, what are we left with? Mobility is our highest stat at a respectable 7, and can still be bumped up to 8. It's a jet, it's mobile! Attunement next, Sound Force is just resonance for band kids. Finesse and computing aren't so great, you can't hack to save your life, and finally, 1's in torque and durability. VFs aren't really mechs that transform into jets, they're jets that transform into mechs, so don't try and arm wrestle anyone. Our shield max is a delightful 14, though our soak is only 1, 3 if we transform, so you can't neglect the shields. Our armor is a mere 12, direct damage is your enemy, so run away, fast and frequently. Our speed is a ridiculous 17 and increases to 25 when transformed. Now weapons don't really go that far, but you can close the distance with an enemy sniper easily, or more importantly, shift out of danger if you can see things going south. So pros and cons. On the one hand, what we've created is a highly mobile support and ground control mech, generating silly amounts of synergy for your allies while simultaneously keeping all their shields active. You can also apply stuck and daze via AoEs, shutting down entire crowds and being a ranged fighter's worst enemy. Unfortunately, this thing is made out of paper and has almost no way to deal with direct damage, especially from itself. It also falls short when fighting bosses and enemies with lots of soak, so escape no jutsu is your best friend if you're the last mech standing. Well, that's all you need to put this thing together. Now go! Let your song ring out across the battlefield! Show them the power of music, and incredible violence if it comes down to it. Basra may be a pacifist, but that doesn't have to apply to you. Hi! Thank you all for stopping by. For any recurring viewer, hello, this is very unusual to you, I'm sure. It has been a while since I've last been here, but now you know my other great loves apart from music and song are mechs and TTRPGs, so you're gonna see a lot more of that and a little less of the music. I'm still making music, I still have songs in the background that I work on and poke at, but I don't know, I don't think that's the direction I want this channel to go in anymore, and also I kind of burnt out doing that at some point, and just a lot going on. A lot has been going on, if you can't tell from even the art style of my little avatar over here. For any of you that are new, hi and welcome. I go by Alphabet Soup on all platforms. I do music and things normally, but also TTRPG stuff other times. This video series, I hope there's going to be more of them, is very heavily inspired by 11 Dragon Kids trash talk videos on Lancer specifically, but I love all of them, and also by Tulox playing XYZ character in D&D. Dungeons and Dragons isn't really my thing that much, though I do have a long-running campaign from when I first got into TTRPGs, and I love all my players dearly. If any of them are watching this, hi, I love you all, and please don't get wrecked in the next boss fight. But yes, you're gonna see lots from me talking about Steel Hearts, because I like this game a lot, but also other mecha games like Armor Aster and Beam Saber, and other TTRPGs in general. Hopefully you'll see a lot more of me. That's all for now. Take care. Bye. Fly away, we'll rise now free at last. Try again, the future's in our grasp. Fly away,